what's up guys, Aaron HD here. And if you clicked on this video, you're probably wondering about the evolution of iOS and how it became the platform that we all know today. Well, you're in the right spot. Let's get into it. Now, it all started June 29, 2007 when the first generation iPhone was released, running what they called back then iPhone OS. It wasn't until later when they adopted the name iOS and release 1.0 really wasn't all that stunning. Now, Steve Jobs referred to iPhone OS, also known as iOS 1.0, as a variant of Mac OS X. However, it wasn't all that revolutionary. It didn't include the App Store, and it definitely didn't include iTunes. Now, it wasn't until March of 2008 when Apple released an SDK, which is a software developers kit that allowed developers to create all the apps that you know in the App Store today. Now, that SDK was released a couple months prior to iOS 2.0, which hit the market July 11, 2008. This version of iOS introduced push notifications, home screen pages, and the ability to open Microsoft documents. It wasn't all that revolutionary again. However, it did take Apple in a step forward that they needed to become the platform that you guys know today. Now, June 17, 2009, Apple released iOS 3.0, which was kind of a huge deal. It introduced features like copy, paste, cut, as well as video recording. It also introduced features like Spotlight search and computer tethering, as well as the Find My iPhone application that you guys may see on your iPhones today. Now, as a side note, on April 3rd, 2010, iOS released not quite a full operating system update, but more like a patch. Now, this patch, 3.2, allowed for iOS to be brought to the iPad. Now, that being said, this also allowed users to change their home screen backgrounds. Now, June 17th of that same year, iOS 4.0 came out, and it introduced a huge amount of features. I'm just going to cover a few. Features such as FaceTime, which is really popular nowadays, iBooks, which actually enabled iOS to support ebooks, as well as digital camera zooming, and the ability to group your apps into folders. They were all presented when iOS 4.0 hit the market June 17. As a fun fact, did you know that the iPhone 4, as well as the iPhone 4S, which was released on a later update, were not 4G? The first 4G iPhone was actually the iPhone 5. The iOS 5.0 was released in 2011. Now, this brought multi-touch to the iPad, as well as Twitter integration and iMessage. This also fixed a lot of bugs and a lot of complaints that people were having with the notifications. Now, with 2 more iOS versions to go, that brings us into iOS 6.0. Now, iOS 6.0 received a lot of hyper publicity. iOS 6.0 featured Facebook integration, so you now have that Facebook icon in your iPhone that came stock with iPhone OS 6.0. It also included support for Passbooks, which kept track of all of your boarding tickets, plane tickets, flight times, all of that kind of stuff. You were also able to make those FaceTime calls, that application that was introduced in a prior release, off of a Wi-Fi network. That's right. Not only could you make it on a Wi-Fi network, but you could also make FaceTime calls on a mobile network. Now, iOS 6.0 also received a lot of hype and publicity from the media and the press because they ditched Google Maps in favor of Apple Maps. Now, that was a huge mistake on Apple's part, and it led to the termination of iOS chief Scott Forstall. Hey, next time you want to become innovative, make sure that it's going to be something that is going to stick, unless you want to put your job on the line. Now let's move into Apple's most recent update, iOS 7. iOS 7.0 was revolutionary. It was designed by a guy named John Ive. Remember, the old guy, Scott Forstall, he was terminated after he wanted to ditch Google Maps in favor of Apple Maps. Now, iOS 7 is what some believe to be the biggest redesign of Apple iOS to date. iOS 7 featured AirDrop. It featured new app icons. That means everything is completely different. It also featured iTunes Radio. iOS 7 also pushed all the updates from the App Store to the background, so you never have to worry about that hassle. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. It's been fun. We went through the whole evolution of Apple iOS from 1.0 all the way up to 7.0. And don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Let me know which iOS version you think really took Apple in the right direction. Peace.